Everybody. Okay, it seems that the number of participants is leveling off. Edwige, do you have some organizational stuff first?
No, it's fine. You can start. Live on YouTube is started.
Okay, thanks very much. So this morning we have first a session on organization, on governance of the Einstein telescope, where we want to tell you where we are and then discuss with you how we can go on. And after that, we'll have an instrument science session from 11:15 to 12:30. Michele will give a short introduction, a short or a long one, I don't even know how long it will be, and then we'll start a discussion.
Okay, thanks, Harald. So, yes, this talk is the summary of the activities made by the steering committee in the last months. But I think the first step is to explain what is the steering committee. So steering committee is a committee of people that, let's say, has been self-generated by a long history of ET. So it arrives from the design study, so 10 years ago, and then all the evolutions that have been during this decade, the past decade, and this committee of persons that volunteered to work on this attempt to transform ET from an idea to a project and from community to a collaboration. So in the last 2 years, this team of persons prepared the ESFRI proposal and started to define the future organization of ET. And it is the steering committee has a variable composition that evolved with time, with the needs, let's say, attracting persons or representing countries or representing competences, and essentially is the only management body that has been present in the T organization until now, but you will see from the next slides that the situation will quickly evolve. So in fact, the SP proposal is a change of phase. This change of phase forced us to not only prepare the proposal, but to discuss and prepare the possible organization of a T, and also intensified the interactions with the agencies. And during the S3 proposal preparation, we had through the interaction with agencies, a first design, first possibility for the T governance. And the main message that you can extract from this first design is the fact that the idea is to have a strong distinction between the project and the collaboration. And this arrives through several considerations. I reported here a few of them. So the first of all is a T will be a very large infrastructure. So there will be a direct involvement of governments. So probably the structure, the future governance structure would be generic with direct involvement of governments. Then, of course, the level of cost of a T requires a special or specific, more than special, specific governance model. And also considering the experience of other big science projects, so we arrived to this request for a strong distinction between the project and collaboration. So in this scheme, that is more or less the current scheme of T governance, we can clearly divide or better distinguish the collaboration from the project. So this has been essentially what has been submitted in the S3 proposal. Okay, so, but we cannot stop at this level. We need to have a working organization. For this reason, the steering committee started to work on this scheme and try to understand and to build to understand first on this scheme what are the main fluxes, decisional flux inside, in order to implement then a working structure that will realize all what we need. And you saw from these days of symposium that we need to prepare a huge amount of design ideas, documents, and so on. We need really to realize, to start the realization of the T project. So if you wanted to analyze the decisional flux, of course, there is one is the political and financial decision flux that is coming from the council, where agencies and maybe governments are represented. But without know-how and expertise, it's impossible to realize it. So the know-how and expertise is in the collaboration. So there are no companies that can realize the T observatory. Meanwhile, there are companies that can realize the infrastructure, but under the indication of the collaboration that knows the requirement. So we need a second flux that here is the red arrow, scientific and strategy and technical expertise flux. All these two fluxes, they have to converge on the executive board, where there is the day-by-day activity on all the management, and so from the executive board there should come the managing and the acting on all the structure of the project that we have to implement what we need in the next years. Okay, so for the first phase that is called the preparatory phase, we imagined a structure like what you see on the screen. So we are building a detailed governance model. So we need, and we are defining the needed management and technical bodies and rules. We are starting to depict the interface and relationship between the collaboration and the project. And we need to find a way to inject the collaboration know-how and expertise in the project structure. So we realized a document that is still preliminary, but is available. It's publicly available. You can download it from the T codifier, and you have the link in this presentation that you can download both from the Indico webpage and from the codifier itself. Okay, so you can see here this structure. Let's go through it to understand how it is organized. So first, okay, the council, these are representatives of the founding agencies and government. The composition and rules are beyond our control, so is defined at the upper level with respect to our level. And in this moment, funding agencies and ministries delegates are meeting to define the structure. Let me say that the first meeting is already occurred, as I shown in my presentation Monday, and this committee of representatives of ministries are trying to enlarge the number of participants, not only to the countries that signed the proposal, but to all the European interested countries. Then there is a STAC, as usual, External Scientific and Technical Advisory Committee, and is appointed to the Council, and it is communicating with the Council. And then we have the level of operative level, the boards. So this is the structure that we imagined. So we have a top level that is are the so-called specific boards, and you see a list of specific boards. So the Instrument Science Board, the Observational Science Board, the Site Preparation Board, the Electronic Infrastructure E-Infrastructure Board, the Internal Finance Board. Is this one, and then of course we will need some administration, project office, and other figures. And each board is divided in divisions that is taking care of different aspects, and then the work package that are going down in the organigram are restricting the field of interest and so on. So this is the structure that we are building, we are proposing for the project, at least for the preparatory phase. So let's see the three different boards. The Instrument Science Board is delivering the technical design report and is identifying the missing technology and delivering documents for that. So you can follow all the discussion you've seen yesterday. You will see after this session, and this afternoon, you can follow the discussion on the Instrument Science Board. Then the Observational Science Board will detail the T-Science case, prepare the analysis requirement, indicate the computing requirement for a T. Site Preparation Board will coordinate the effort on site related activity, formulate the site-specific specification for Einstein telescope, and prepare the choice for the site. So you saw yesterday the discussion about site characterization, qualification, and also the discussion about the evaluation of the noise at the two different sites. Who followed the discussion yesterday understood the importance to have common methods to compare, to measure, and then to compare the different sites. So it's will have a crucial role in this point. Then we have the infrastructure board, the internal financial board that will take care of the future e-infrastructure, computing models. And for the internal financial board, we need to understand the financial need. We need to collect and normalize the technical boards, And of course, we need to suggest founding tools to the council, and I think it is a very crucial board. So the ISB you saw yesterday is the one with the most advanced preparation status. So we defined the different division, you can see here, and we defined also the chair of the co-chairs of the different divisions, and also the work package are under fully definition. I think they will present the full the chairs that are Andreas and Gianluca will present the full organization to the steering committee in the next very few weeks, and I think it will be operative very soon. So the OSB instead is still not formed, but we have a committee that has the mandate to study the organization and the mandate for the OSB, and you can see the composition of this subcommittee, and I hope they will report to the steering committee very soon. I think in the order of a few weeks, also them. And then the site preparation board, also here there is a committee, but we are a little bit more advanced with respect to the observational science board, because we defined the last steering committee. We defined the mandate of this board. There is a document, public document, that you can access, and you can see the mandate of this board. So we need to start to realize its composition and its organization. Sorry, wrong direction. Okay, we are late for the infrastructure internal financial board. Of course, there will be an ethics committee, and when the project will be operative, and will take care of equity, diversity, inclusion, anti-discrimination, anti-racism, ombudsperson. So we'll take care of all the ethical aspects of the project. Okay, this is the core of the activity. The executive board is responsible for the day-by-day decisions. Of course, we'll take care of the administration, and the members are a manager or director that is appointed by the council, that has the formal duty to appoint the members, and has the duty to chair the meetings, coordinate the project activities, communicate to the council, and is the responsible, this manager, for the large expenditures. Then the other members of the executive board will be the delegates of specific boards. At the beginning will be the two co-chairs, and then we will one delegate per board to reduce the number of persons inside the executive board. Then there will be the spokesperson, the T spokesperson, that is appointed by the collaboration board, by the collaboration. And then, of course, there will be technical figures that are needed for the different phases. So technical director, site manager, quality control, relationship with the other collaboration. So there will be a huge number of, maybe usually not the right word, a number of technical figures that are needed for making this project working. Okay, the collaboration board represented the scientific collaboration, and so we started to depict its composition, starting from one brick. The brick of the collaboration board is the research unit. The research unit is a team of scientists belonging to the same university or to the same local unit of a national research organization. Of course, if you have that, you have both the university and the local unit of organization, the standard rule is to have one single research unit. Representation is based roughly on proportional law, so we expect a proportional representation to the number of full-time equivalent declared by the research unit. Probably we leave a common funds mechanism, but not from the beginning, of course, because there will be difficulty at the beginning to have national contributions. And then the full-time equivalent will need a verification. Probably will be based on analytical methods like we are implementing in Virgo, or is implemented in LSC and so on, or many other large experiments. So the collection board decides on the entrance on new research unit, propose the chairs of the different boards, nominate also a chair of the board, the preparation board, define suggest long-term strategy, define membership rules for the collaboration, define publication rules for the collaboration, and then elects a spokesperson, 3 years duration to be defined, because inside the steering committee we saw that there is a minority, a relevant minority of person that is thinking to have a 2 years mandate. So the mandate is under debate, but it's the order of 3 years. The spokesperson represents collaboration in the executive board, in the council. We can say to the council, because he's not a member of the council. Communicate between the collection board and the project. So it's the main channel of communication between the collaboration and the project, we can say, and propose the members of the executive board to the executive board manager. Is of course a member also of the executive board, and for the first period probably we will have the coincidence between the spokesperson and the executive board manager until the council is not defining his own representative, his own elected or appointed people inside the executive board. So what are the actions that we have in front of us? We are defining these structures, and because we need it, we need to progress. The project should grow up quickly, maybe in a so fast way that is impossible for the agencies to follow, and so we need to go on, and then we will see when the agencies will be ready for creating the project. And we have a tremendous series of deadlines and deliverables in the next months, for example, to defend the proposal, to define the pre-preliminary design. So I put these terms pre-preliminary under quotes because I don't want to have misunderstanding. There has been some discussion inside. I'm afraid to use the word preliminary design because it's a reserved word in legislation, at least in Italian legislation. When you make a large infrastructure, design a large infrastructure, there are 3 legal steps for the design. That is preliminary, definitive, and executive design, and a team of scientists cannot produce this kind of designs. It's something that must be produced by a company with a legal responsibility, and so for this reason I'm always reluctant to use these terms preliminary. So we needed to give our contribution to the design that will be then used to build to design the research infrastructure. We need to select the site, and we are sure that what we are defining now will be then assimilated by the project that the agencies will define in the future. But in order to have a real progress, we also need to form the collaboration, and this is one of the most urgent activities that we have in front of us. And of course, the collaboration needs to be enforced when the S3 roadmap is published. We hope to be inside. And the first step is, of course, to define the components of the research collaboration, the scientific collaboration, so the research units. And we needed to form the collaboration board in order to decide, to take decisions, at least for decisions that are under the responsibility of the collaboration board. For this reason, we are starting as a steering committee we are starting to evaluate the number of composition of the research unit. And to trigger the effective application, to enter in a collaboration, we prepared a survey. So we invite you to submit the survey for the 15th of February, not at the level of single person, so at the level of potential research unit. And so you see the first effect. We are forcing people to aggregate at the local level to say, oh, we are composing the local team for a T. And so this is the first step. We are pushing you to aggregate at the local level. Then when you are aggregated and you are defining a unique local delegate, this guy can fill up this survey. And don't be afraid, don't be worried. It will not define, decide, freeze the participation to the T, but will give the indication to the steering committee that will remain in force until the publication of the SV roadmap. We give the possibility to us to facilitate the first contacts, to start the early involvement of these research units in the activities. So we need to understand who is interested, what are the competences, and how the people can support us in this tremendous activity. The official application procedure will be defined in the next months, when we will have an idea of the size of the distribution of the groups and so on. So this survey, I will show the pages of the survey. Essentially is using a Google account. I'm sorry for you, but you need to have a Google account to apply. And then, okay, identifying who is the delegate that is submitting the proposal with this institutional email address. So please don't use a commercial account, but for this submission, but you have to, for this email, but you have your email, institutional email. Then before to apply, build up the potential composition on the of your research unit, downloading this table from this address, from the T-codifier. The table is here, you can see here. And then start to fill the survey. So essentially, okay, define your country, the name of the research unit, the institution. Okay, first an affiliated institution, because I mean, we have experienced that people can belong to more than one institution. So and then we have the first institution, the affiliated. The Italian example, this is INFN Perugia, and then University of Perugia, University of Camerino, and so on. Okay, the city, and then you pass through. You have to define a number of people that are composing the research unit that you expect to compose a research unit. What is your expectation for full-time equivalent? Again, is not constraining. It's just an indication to understand the size of your participation. And then, in fact, you can comment that numbers in order to say to us how you intend these numbers. Okay, upload the table that I showed you before. Then identify your expertise according to some predefined fields. You can then extend this through a text. You can send your comment, and then you submit. So this, if done very quickly, but in an organized way. So we like to avoid to receive more application from one single research unit. This will identify difficulties inside that unit. Then when we receive this input, will help us to have inputs on all this field. And also, this is my last slide. So I would like to open the discussion now and to have your suggestion about organization, membership, the procedures, relationship with ongoing HW organization, collaboration, and expression of interest on this on the Einstein telescope. Okay, so this is my last slide.
Yeah, thanks very much, Michele. So what we would now start, as Michele said, is a discussion on this, an open discussion. We don't want to defend the ideas, but we would like to get your input on all this. I realize for such a discussion, it's an intimidating number of participants at the moment, 106 here in the Zoom session, but nevertheless, Hans, I see you've got a hand up. Please go ahead. You are muted. We can't hear you. At the lower left, yes.
So, thank you for this interesting presentation. And I agree with the blue part of the organizational scheme. But I have some comments on the top part, the white part, because there is a kind of standard governance model for large facilities. The highest authority being the council that approves strategy, that approves budget, that nominates the members of an executive board, after having carefully, of course, considered the advices of the scientific advisory committee. But the most important body usually is the executive board that is responsible for the drafting the strategy, drafting the budget, and also for the everything that is going on an operational level. Now, if I look to your presentation, then you introduce also this collaboration board. Normally, that is not in the standard pattern. The standard pattern is the council, the STAC, and the executive board, and then what's below the organization. And in your proposal, the collaboration board defines and suggests the strategy. The collaboration board suggests to the executive board and to the council the main expenditures. I also read in one of the documents that the collaboration board has the authority to set up the amount and the rules of another budget, common funds. Whereas in another slide, you said something like, the main task of the executive board is day-to-day management. So if you make a, say, psychological analysis of your proposals, the message behind in the background is we consider the collaboration board as the real important body. But of course, we do realize that we have to fit in some interaction with the bodies that will be forced upon us by the ministries. That is unavoidable, but let us try it. The psychology is the collaboration board is the most important thing. And in my view, this scheme, this line of thought, brings you into a dead end, because most ministries I know will probably not accept it. So what I suggest is to adapt your governance to the reality of what's going on in most S3 landmark projects, which is give the executive board, as in reality being the most important body, all the tasks, the tools it needs to function as normally is requested, and reduce the collaboration board to an advisory role that is not overlapping with the role of the stack. Thank you. This is my intervention.
Okay, many thanks. So from my point of view, what you said mostly agrees with what Michele said, because he said that in our view, the executive board is the most important, the decision-making board in agreement with the council. But I see that reality, of course, is such that the people who've got the money have got the power, and that will not be changed. But the scientific input, of course, has to come from the collaboration. I think there is no denying that the expertise is within the collaboration. So the collaboration is the only body that can suggest the scientific path, that can come up with solutions to scientific and technical problems. So I still, after you explained your view, I don't see anything wrong with the notion that the collaboration board proposes solutions, proposes paths that will then be analyzed and hopefully agreed on by the executive board and the council.
Let me also add the one point. Answer this what you said has been discussed for days and weeks in the steering committee. So and maybe I have been not able to explain the document because I mean the point that the document where we arrived and the current configuration has been let's say commented to be too much with too much power to the project with respect to the collaboration to the scientific collaboration. And I'm one of the supporters of the fact that the project must have a large power because it's a huge infrastructure. So the only way to build a huge infrastructure to have a strong hierarchical structure. So I agree completely. And maybe I've been not able to explain, but the collaboration board has an advisory role, has not the power to define expenditures, but has the power to suggest expenditures. And this is done through essentially one person, the spokesperson, that is injected by the collaboration board inside the executive board. So when I say the strategy means the long-term strategy, the science, okay? So, and I think that I don't believe that the institution wants to recruit inside the executive board, I don't know, 20, 40 scientists, theoreticians that elaborate the science of AT. And then the science should arrive from outside, otherwise we are building an industry, not a research infrastructure. But also institutions able to understand that building a gravitational wave observatory is not like building CERN or building ESS. What is the difference? First, in this case, there is not a distinction between infrastructure and detector. The infrastructure is also in the detector. But if you remove a component of the detector, the system doesn't work. It's not like a high-energy physics experiment where you remove the muon detector and the calorimeter works. In this case, you need everything. Otherwise, the system doesn't work. Then what you mean? That you need all the expertise. And that what means that or you recruit in the project 1,000 persons and you build an industry with 1,000 persons working there, okay, or you need continuously the presence of the scientist and the person that realized the components. It's not like a telescope that is built by ISO and then people do the analysis. Just look at the timeline of the current detectors. So we are operating for 1 year. And then we are in commissioning mode and upgrade mode. And this will not change. Who is doing this commission upgrading mode? The 160 person that is recruited by the project doesn't work. It's not enough. It's not a large enough number of persons. And you need continuously the contribution by the collaboration board. Or now, if the collaboration board, the scientists have no role, just to provide the components, that doesn't work. They are not attracted. So a gravitational wave observators needs a little bit different governance, because our systems more complex that needs large number of persons. This is my comment.
Yes. First of all, I think, of course, that as far as the blue part is concerned, you can mobilize all the expertise the scientific and technical expertise that is available in the blue part of your scheme. And I said I agree with the blue part. But I think that it would be in this situation where you say the collaboration board is an advice. Yes, it is an advisory body. But there is also the idea of having the stack. If you said that the collaboration board is going to advise both to the executive board and to the council, then you are surpassing the executive board. But the first thing I'm saying is I can imagine that in the very early stages, you want to have something of a collaboration board being an advisory body, but first only to the executive board. Then my plea is to have an executive board as soon as possible and to organize the blue part. And as I said, I disagree with the sentence that the executive board is only there for the day-to-day management. An executive board has not only the operational level, but also the strategic level to appear to the council. Now, the interesting thing is that in the S3 application, in section 9.1, it is said that the governments would try to set up an interim council as soon as possible. As a matter of fact, in the text is even mentioned the year 2020, but of course, Corona created a problem. Now, my advice is to ask the governments to set up as soon as possible, but of course, only after after ET has appeared on the S3 roadmap, because before that, there is not the European blessing of scientific value, but at least intervene in your interactions with the governance, the informal interactions in the year 2021. The best thing is to ask them to prepare the setting up of an interim council that could appear as soon as possible after publication of the S3 roadmap. And then, of course, the council can nominate this interim council an interim executive board, and the leadership of the process can then be in the hand of the executive board. And of course, the executive board can use the advices of a collaboration board as long as there is not a good functioning scientific and technical advisory committee. That is the way I would like to see it proceed. And of course, the scheme under the executive board will change in the course of time, because in the S3 public guidelines, you see there is this life cycle approach. And this life cycle approach speaks of a design phase, a preparatory phase, an implementation phase, and an exploitation phase. And for me, it is very clear that for each phase requests a kind of different scheme under the executive board. But okay, we are now in design or preparation phase, somewhere in between. And but my plea is, my wish is, ministries work on an interim council, work as a derivative as soon as possible on a powerful and dynamic executive board that may mobilize scientific knowledge from the collaboration board. But that is the way I see it at this moment.
Okay, thank you, Hans. There are a number of hand ups. If at all possible, I would like to ask you to use the blue hand up symbol, because otherwise I might lose overview. So the order at the moment is Luciano, Map, and then yours. Luciano, please go ahead.
So my question is about the research unit and the collaboration board.
Sorry, can you speak up a little bit?
Oh, sure. Can you hear me?
Now it's much better.
Okay. So my question is about the research units and the collaboration board. I expect that every single group in Europe working or interested in gravitational wave will apply for as a research unit. If I well understand, each of these groups should, or research units should have a member in the collaboration board. So probably the collaboration board will be a very large board, if I well understand. And this is good because it means that there will be a large collaboration supporting ET, but perhaps, and this number of units could increase continuously in time while the project develops. So we could end up with a board with up to perhaps 100 people or even more. And I wonder how this can actually work, because if you have a board that is too large, of course, it is difficult for this board to be really effective. And on the other side, you want a representative of the scientific collaboration. So I wonder, are you thinking to limit, for instance, in some sense, the number of units or the minimum size or things like that in order to avoid that the board becomes a plethoric board with too many people? Thank you.
Yes, let me say, in this moment we are going in a different direction. We wrote in the document, and keep in mind that the document is the steering committee suggestion, and is what we will use to start. Then the collaboration board has the duty to define its own rule, no? Because we cannot decide. A few persons that you saw in the list of steering committee has not the right to decide the rules for everybody, and then will be adapted. But the idea is to have one person. A research unit is defined by at least 1.5 full-time equivalent. There is the idea to have a proportionality between the number of T and the number of delegates in the collaboration board. It's a quantized proportionality, and this means that the risk that you are describing even more present to have a plethoric collaboration board. And we are aware, and of course there will need some mitigation in the future, but not at the beginning. For the preparatory phase, maybe for the initial part of the preparatory phase, it works. But as I am being unable to explain in my presentation, since the collaboration board has not a real decisional power, has a power just to suggest, not to decide. And it is suggesting through one single person that is the spokesperson, that is injected inside the executive board. The fact that the collaboration board has plethoric or could have a plethoric composition is not a tremendous risk. Is something that is not so risky, because the project will go on because it's really independent from the collaboration board. I've been enabled to explain that. The collaboration board has just to elect the chair, elect the spokesperson, and then is the spokesperson that is representing the collaboration board inside the executive board. So if we will see, and I hope to have this problem, that the number of participants is very, very large, of course, will be a duty of the collaboration board to adapt their internal rules to avoid this situation that could cause a not working collaboration board.
Okay, Maria Alessandra next.
Hi, good morning. Thank you very much for the nice presentations. Have a question, which I'm sure you'll imagine, and that is that the data release policies do shape collaborations. And so the data release policies for ET will shape what the ET scientific collaboration is going to look like. And so I wanted to ask if you had an idea of what those data release policies will be. Of course, I'm not asking a legalistic definition, but in the spirit, are the data release policies going to be the ones that we see for the current gravitational wave collaborations? That's question number one. And question number two is, if you have not decided how you're going to fold in, and are you interested in folding in the input from groups like mine that are outside large collaboration and are a bit unwilling to commit to the level of interference in their research that a large collaboration demands? Or are you going to go with sort of deciding among the people who basically sign into that model?
So let me say, it's difficult to define now a data release policy for two reasons. First, the scientific data of ET will arrive in 2032, hopefully, maybe in 2035. Second, as wrote in the document, is the collaboration board the body that define the data, scientific policy on data, so this is I think the only point that where the collaboration board has to decide with respect to executive board. Okay, so this is the point that is definitely decided by the collaboration board. But in the preparation of the proposal, we decided to start from the current situation. So essentially, the idea is to have open access data, but with the initial time of private data. I don't know if it's the right definition, but a time of where the data are validated and analyzed by the collaboration, and then is made public. So the idea is to start from the current situation. So I think that this is the initial point. Then it's up to the collaboration board to define the official ET data release policy, in agreement also with the agencies, because of course the money are put on the table by the agencies, and so also the agencies able to give their indication.
And also in discussion with other collaborations, of course, so that topic is of course not only discussed within ET, but also, for example, in the Cosmic Explorer collaboration, and it would be optimal if a similar data policy is adapted everywhere. So there are boundary conditions, and it is being discussed. Jules, you are next on the list.
Yes, thank you, Chair. Thank you, Michele, for your presentation as a good starting point. Please let me make 2 remarks on how to get on with this governance. First, as Michele already mentioned, in September, as the ESFRI application was sent in, the ministries of the ET supporting countries set up an informal forum to discuss the application and to see how they can be supportive to your actions. In this initial group, now also countries participate that for one reason or another could not yet express themselves politically at the time of application, and therefore our status, the status of this group, will be informal. Italy and the Netherlands are co-chairs for this informal forum, and I support them. It's now at the moment too early to call this or to have an interim council as mentioned in chapter 9 of the application, and here I echo Hans Chang. It's too early. But we have an informal forum. My second remark concerns the coordination of the project. In the application, chapter 4 mentions coordinators for the ET project. And recently, the 2 coordinators, which are the director of INFN and the director of NICHEV, informed the informal ministerial level group that they are happy to accept their role and proposed a couple of issues to discuss, among others, the governance of the project. And next week, the co-chairs of the informal contact group will meet and discuss the follow-up of the proposal of these coordinators. And today's views and discussion, of course, will be included in the coming meetings of ministerial representatives and the coordinators. And I think that especially the composition, the position and mandates of the future council and the executive board will be discussed thoroughly. I think that this brings much understanding both in your community and in the ministries. Thank you.
Okay,
Thank you very much.
So let me comment one single point. I agree that for you it's too early, but for us it's too late. And so for this reason, we are working in order to have the progress that we need for a team. And as I wrote in some of my slides, I hope that the indications that we are giving will be received, maybe not fully accepted, but received by the funding agencies. But we cannot wait that you take the decisions, because otherwise we will be late. So we hope to be already in the middle of our activities, and we will receive maybe a small deviation, but not a stop, and we go on. So in meanwhile that you are discussing, we already done a huge amount of progress, and we will not wait for your decision on that. But of course, if you read my slides, we are not, is clearly wrote that everything what we are proposing here, if accepted, will be in operation in October 2021. But now we need to attract person, we need to attract expertise, because we need in the next months huge amount of expertise to complete the design of the infrastructure, the design, I mean, for our side, not from the engineering point of view, for the company point of view, but the design of the detectors, the organization of future organization of data analysis, And this is not in the capabilities of agencies, is the capabilities of the scientists. And as a scientist, we need to rush in order to be ready when the political level takes their decision.
Yes, thank you. Of course, we don't want to be a hindrance. As I said, we want to be supportive, although this forum wants to be supportive to your actions. So I rather want to speak about concerted action than about consecutive actions. So I understand that there's a hurry, but we also have to bear in mind that we need to have the governance, to have the ministries well informed, and not to reach conclusions which afterwards take an enormous amount of energy to rebuild. That's all.
Of course.
Okay, Justin, you're next.
Hi, thanks. I apologize, I'm very new to Einstein telescope, and I haven't read all of the documents. I've just seen the presentation you've shown today. Just a question for my understanding about the proposal for how the whole thing should work. And it picks up on a point of Hans's, of course, where does the money go? Is the plan to have a project separately defined, and then partners in the research units, contributing their expertise and their money? Or is the plan to have a completely distributed project with no large central core?
No, we need a very large central core, because the largest expenditures, one of the large component of the complexity is in the infrastructure. And so we need a very large core, central core. But of course, we need a huge amount of R&D, because there are still some of the enabling technologies that are missing. So we need a flux of money that goes toward the infrastructure, but also we need to distribute to the research units enough resources to make the R&D. But this R&D should be strongly coordinated. Okay, we are not in a phase where we are doing R&D for curiosity. We are doing R&D for realizing the enabling technologies that we need for the first implementation of it.
So will the flow of the money be into the central project and from the project out to the research units? Or do you envisage the research units being directly funded by the partner nations?
There are different possibilities, but this one is one of the possible. Let me say, if I have the experience of Virgo, that is 1 order of magnitude smaller and in a completely different phase, so it's very difficult to make the comparison. But we have a large flux of money that is going directly to EGO, that is the central institution, okay? And then there are minor flux of money that are going from the agencies through EGO to the research units, or directly from the agencies to the research units. So it's an hybrid model where the largest fraction goes through the central one. And I believe that since the in-kind contribution is expected to exist also in ET, there will be an hybrid situation, I expect. Then it's up to the agencies to decide. I'm just making a possible scheme.
Sure. I think when you approach the agencies for money, it's a good idea to have in mind what sort of balance you're thinking of, because that may well influence their own decision making. If they just see you want them to hand over a whole load of cash and they can keep a little bit back for their community, they might not be so keen. But if you do the opposite, of course, you then have the whole in-kind management challenge, and I've yet to see a satisfactory solution to that.
Yeah, if you look at the proposal, in the proposal we wrote that there will be a central body, central management body, technical, where management is not only, let's say, financial, but it's also technical, because the support of the infrastructure is huge, and is composed by 160 persons. So this means that you need to build a very large research center that manage the infrastructure, and this causes a very large flux of money toward this central body.
Yeah. Okay, well, just be warned, you might well know all this stuff. Managing in kind is a whole topic in its own right.
Yeah, I completely agree. So at the moment in the diagrams, the project management aspect seems to be a bit underrepresented. It's just one small box, although it is a big issue. It is a big, needs a lot of people and a lot of effort to be put in.
There are plenty of people who can tell you how not to do it.
That also helps. There has been comments from Ettore in the chat. Maybe Ettore, you can speak up if your microphone works.
Oh, yes. I just wonder whether the interaction between the collaboration board and the executive board could be maybe facilitated by letting the spokesperson be a part of, or a seat in
that is the suggestion, yes.
This is an issue which had been debated also in Cadre collaboration deeply. They had initially a very strong executive board, but unfortunately there was some lack of representativity from the base, from the collaboration institutions, and they felt finally some need to somehow recompose the structure of governance, because of course this is it was of course a joke, but there might be the possibility that I wonder whether there could be or not the possibility that the executive board has to take a decision which is against the opinion gathered by and brought into the executive board by the spokesperson. This is something that in principle may happen according to this scheme.
Sorry, yes. Is already
not against, just a possibility. Of course, we should consider.
Is already inside. Okay, the spokesperson appointed by the CB is a member of the collaboration board.
Okay, fine.
Also, it's written also in the text that for the very initial part, until the agencies will take, the council will take this decision, the spokesperson plays also the role of executive board manager.
Okay, in this case, I think that comments by Hans could be definitely solved by this. And the other question was related to the stack. Stack, of course, is properly placed there, also in Virgo, that is the position. And that is a standard, I think, in this kind of organization. I'm not expert, but I can say that quite often that requires from the council members a very deep engagement in order to be able to debate with the stack their advices and provide information. In any case, the council has to commit people who are below, and especially maybe spokesperson or other members, I don't know, who are even below in the lower layers, to report, inform, and take advices from the stack. I mean, this is solved in a unique way, in my modest opinion, by asking the council members to be really deeply engaged in this business. This is the only way, in my opinion, according to this structure. I mean, separating the stack completely, I agree, I might agree, but the council members have to be really quite deeply involved. And I wonder whether this is feasible.
Well, in that sense, this diagram may be a little misleading because the informing arrow is only going from the council to the stack. That is, of course, not the case. The council won't inform the stack on what is going on in scientific and technical regards. The information, of course, comes from the boards below and is communicated in the usual fashion to the stack. And yet the stack reports, that is at least our view here, like in Virgo, for example, reports back to the council with their findings. It's an external body which is informed, of course, by the experts.
Thank you.
And as for your remark, if there is a clash between the decisions of the council through the executive board and the proposals of the collaboration board, that of course can happen in any project.
Yes.
And one of the most prominent reasons being that the collaboration board sees the need for scientific or technical change, which causes some financial costs, and these costs are not available. That is the most common reason for a clash in this regard. So even then, if the council sees the need, they might not be able to respond to it in the most appropriate way. We've all experienced that. Hans has a hand up. Hans, please.
Yes, to react. First, in the usual council setting, there are from each country 2 persons, one from the ministry and one from the scientific community. That is one thing. Then, as far as the knowledge in the stack is concerned, in reality, in practice, the chair of the executive board or a director general, usually before bringing in the plans and the strategies and the science issues into the council, he or she interacts with the chair of the stack. So you don't think to have to be worried about the question whether the scientific issues, whether there is enough expertise, knowledge in the council, because the chair of the executive board, if there is a difference in opinion between the executive board and the stack or the stack's chair, then it will be brought into the council. But usually, one of course tries to prevent such a situation, and therefore the role also of the scientists in the council is an important one. Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, are there other remarks? Suggestions, questions? That doesn't seem to be the case. To be honest, we hadn't foreseen this session to end early. But if there is no further need for discussion.
Yeah, maybe I can just say that what we will do as a steering committee, and as a steering committee, we will stimulate people to aggregate at the local level. We will stimulate when this aggregation is occurred to apply on the formula in form. And as I said, this is not the official participation, but nothing is really official in this moment. We are in a very hybrid situation, and but will be quite useful to apply, because As I told you, we have a huge amount of things to do, and we need the contribution and expertise of persons that want to participate. And so if we see that there are groups that want to participate, we will be very happy to contact them, to collaborate with persons, and because we need to produce updated design, to start the plan for R&D, to defend the T project next spring in front of S3 committee. So I mean, there is so large number of things to do that external support will be external, between quotes, external support will be very precious, and will profit of that. And then taking an account that the bodies that I'm showing here, the ISB, OSB, and so on, are forming now, and we are attracting a large number of persons to collaborate in the different tasks that are defined or in definition in this moment. So please react, start to work at the local level, and react as quickly as possible.
I see that Justin is having a hand up again. Please.
Yeah, thanks. I mean, just one comment from the front line of project implementation. The sooner you can get decisions, especially technical decisions, made, the better. You will get to a point in a few years' time when people are saying, God, I really wish we'd made some decisions about this sooner. And we don't have time now to implement them and get the wretched thing built before the money runs out. So I guess I'm just echoing the previous point. The sooner you can get some decisions made, the better, especially on some of the technical issues. And I know that, you know, you'd like to optimize things and you'd like to have just a bit more time to study things. But there really does come a point, and it's much sooner than you think, that you have to say, okay, enough talking, enough thinking, enough designing, enough experimenting. This is what we're going to do.
Yeah, that's exactly the lines we are following at the moment. So we all know that better is the worst enemy of good. And so we have to come to conclusions in certain points because time is pressing. And that is why we are pushing ahead with the forming of these boards. And at the same time trying to get the upper level somehow sorted out. And as Michele has explained, we are on a very good path with the Instrument Science Board and the Site Preparation Board. The Observational Science Board is the name, is being formed. That is the next big step ahead. Yeah, there Michele is displaying the slide. So all these boards are now being formed to do exactly what you say, to push ahead with the decisions that have to be made soon. Okay, Hans.
You're muted.
As I said, I was very positive about the blue part, and you want to hurry. So if people are going to work in this divisions of the blue part, are they going to work really full time, or is this just a part-time activity? Because if you want to speak up, full time would of course be very beneficial.
Yes, it's of course desirable to have full-time people in there, but this is mostly impossible. So many people, these boards are huge. You've seen the example of the Instrument Science Board, where there are lots of divisions, working groups, and all these working groups filled with people. Of course, here they are on the slide that Michele is showing. And of course, not all of these people will be able to work full-time. That is a challenge, as usual in these projects, to get enough reliable support also from these people who cannot work on it with a full-time position. The leaders in the upper ranks, of course, will dedicate a much larger fraction of their time for this task. We're aware of that, but there are no people employed by a project ET yet.
We are building a project without common funds, so there is no way to recruit person to the project. So the people is participating on a voluntary basis, but is not. I mean, there is no way to force people to be 100% of their time. But of course, when the project structure will be operative, of course, we expect that will be people recruited between quotes by the project, and then they will be 100%. At this moment, we are doing as much as possible with the available resources, and this is the reason why the collaboration is crucial. It is important because this is providing resources, maybe not optimal in terms of time devoted, but the only one that we have in this moment.
Okay, but then I can add something to your already very demanding working list for the year 2021, because assuming that ET appears on the S3 roadmap, then afterwards you can of course ask for preparatory funds in Brussels. And therefore, throughout 2021, you can also start working on the application for preparatory funds, defining work packages, the amount of funds you need, the relations with the various ministers. So that may be another issue to add to your working agenda.
Yeah, I'm sure the preparatory funds are useful but not crucial. Correct me if I'm wrong, but the amount of money expected for the project in a preparatory fund, direct money, is about 5 million euro. That is a small fraction of the money that we are already spending for characterizing the site, developing the technology that we need, and so on. So the current flux of money is the order of 30 millions, both in Netherlands, Belgium, Germany, and in Italy. So it's the 5 millions from the European Commission direct money for preparatory funds is a small fraction. I think that if we wanted to go through the project, the realization of the project, the agencies should not rely too much, and the European Commission should start to work with the national funds and support the project. Otherwise, we are joking.
Yes, and yet Hans is of course right in the sense that we have to prepare now under the assumption that we will show up on the S3 roadmap for and ask for funds for the direct preparatory phase. Then whether this is
just 5 million euro is important, but
no, I'm not saying just from EU money.
Yes.
Okay, Francesco, please.
Yes, this is a really very interesting discussion. Looking from, say, the agency, the ministry side, or maybe from some, say, US oriented point of view, in the scheme, I'm afraid that they would ask also where is the command chain, which direction it goes, and together with it, who owns the salaries. And so we all know that this is a delicate and subtle equilibrium that every country has its own way to achieve. But I was wondering whether in this phase or in the near future it would be good to have some sort of answer to this sort of question, because I think that they will be raised.
Sorry, Francesco, I had a glitch on the network. What is the question?
Sorry. Okay. So apart from all the compliments for
Okay.
then no, the point is that in this scheme, I don't really see a command chain.
Okay.
Where do the orders go and who owns the salaries? We all know that this is a delicate point, and every country has its own system. But there should, I think that it should be well specified. People would want to understand how many salaries will have to be managed here, how many will be with the institutions, and what the flow of orders, the flow of management will go.
In this plot, money is blue, expertise is red. So money are fluxing from the collaboration to the executive board, sorry, from the council, so the institutions, where institution can be ministry or funding agencies, to the executive board, and then going down on the structure that are below. When I said the project has to recruit between quotes, I use the between quotes with being not so clear, because of course, if we needed to recruit persons or to give contracts, for example, all the infrastructure part, we need to recruit persons that are in the internal experts, but then we need external companies because they have the expertise what we need. For the instead for the observatory and detector part, the expertise is in the scientific community, and so we needed to recruit person. Where recruit means or to have a contract for a new person in the project, or to have some kind of mechanism of command. A person is transferred from the collaboration from the national institutions to this body. But the problem is which body, where is the body? So this is not our duty, are the agencies and the countries that they have to build the body where the executive body is living. And so, I mean, when this is realized, which kind of form and so on, we can suggest. Of course, for me, is my personal opinion, the ERIC structure will be the final structure, maybe, but I'm not sure, considering the time needed to set up an ERIC, that it will be the initial structure. And so the agencies should discuss what is the initial structure that they wanted to form, and then go on. Of course, the first step, I think, is the S3 roadmap, the entrance in the S3 roadmap, because it gives the quality label. But then we need really an intermediate structure where to fill persons, we put persons and put money.
Yes, Michele, I don't understand, because perhaps the blue and red arrow hides something. Working groups. Where did the divisions go in this scheme?
Yes.
Are they at the same place of the working groups?
Yeah, this is the schema that we received during the preparation of S3 roadmap by the team of agencies that met together. They sent us. But this is not detailed enough. And so what we are doing is we are building, we are specializing what was the working group definition here by this structure here, and giving the different boards. We call boards instead of working groups, because we give this structure of divisions and then work packages. And of course, we are aware that this is not exhaustive. Then there are the 3 dots here, and it's also not exhaustive from the administration point of view. Of course, they need other departments like administration that will appear when all that will be in a unique container. That is this new, let's say, entity that will be the ERIC at the end, and something in between before.
Yeah, I think you has got a comment in that direction.
Sorry.
Yeah, so the way I'm looking at this structure right now, it resembles a lot the general structure we have in the Virgo collaboration with this matrix. But in the Virgo collaboration, we also have something like a project, which is called Advanced Virgo Plus. And that is a different organization, and that has no flexibility. It is a very strict timeline, has a budget allocated to it, has people allocated to it, and it's managed in a completely different way than how you manage the general collaboration. So of course there is something on your slide that's called project office, and maybe that is then standing for a similar organization like this, but then completely dedicated to realizing the facility. And that you have to do with full-time dedicated persons with a lot of more engineering and technical expertise. There's not much room anymore for R&D and things like that, like this at that point. So that is the kind of thing I'm missing a bit in this model.
No, the project office is composed by a limited number of people with very specific duties, like interfaces, system integration, quality control. So that are the figures. And also, I think you are misunderstanding a part of this blue structure. This is a project structure, but to make a project, you know better than me, you need money. Okay, when we made the Advanced Virgo Plus, while you were designing the structure, you negotiated with the agencies. Okay, give me the money to do it, and because then you can have people full-time dedicated. In this moment, we are at the voluntary level because there are no money to do that. We have specific money for specific activities at the local level, but we haven't a centralized structure that handles the money and can recruit, again, between quotes, people. As soon as we have it, all that figures are figures that are recruited by the project, again, between quotes. But we cannot do now because at the moment there are no common funds, where in this moment I use the word common funds as a project funds. Okay, there are no project funds in this moment.
I know what you're saying, but I don't know whether this is the way you would run a project and have confidence that at the end you indeed get what you want. But okay, well, we'll see.
Francesco, sorry, I cut you off. You were about to say something.
Yes, the following point was that then the people that will populate the boxes within the divisions, they are usually provided by the groups of the collaboration, and sometimes this is the way the resources are provided. The human resources are provided by the people that then want to make the science. Yes. So it comes out to be a matrix, with some instructions that goes vertically and resources that comes, let's say, horizontally. And I don't know. Again, I'm wondering, since we are talking to people of different tradition, whether this should be more explicit or whether we agree on this theme.
I believe that we cannot do a so large project without a project organization. And the project organization is different from collaboration organization. And currently, we cannot implement a project organization because we haven't a project budget and we haven't a project infrastructure. As soon as the project will exist, this configuration will collapse in a project configuration. In this moment, we are having the approach of collaboration, meaning a project. Okay, the only thing that we can do, because I mean, people are participating because they are interested to the project. But of course, in the next future, we will leave that. But this, as I said at the beginning, it will not solve the problem, because it will be impossible for the project to recruit all the expertise that is needed, unless we wanted to build a project with 1,000 persons. I mean, gravitational wave detectors are something different from a telescope. Even if the project is named Einstein Telescope. So I think that the contribution of the scientific community represented by the collaboration board is in any case crucially important, because all the expertise is there, and they are providing the persons that will be, again, between quotes, recruited by the project. This is, I think, the scheme that we are going toward, and I think it is the only one that will allow to do it. We cannot make external contract to build the detector part of it. We can do it for the infrastructure, but even not only for the infrastructure, because external companies doesn't know what are our requirements, and the requirements should be defined by us with the expertise that we build in the case working in Virgo. So what is the level of noise of the infrastructure? What is the horizontal to couple or vertical coupling of the tunnels that we can accept, and all that parts that are taken, the level of noise of the water flowing through the tunnel. So it's, I mean, there are things that the companies, they don't know that it exists. And we saw doing the proposal of ESFRI, we had a couple of external companies working with us, but we had to drive them continuously with our internal experts. Otherwise, they will build a motor road tunnel, not an interferometer radiation wave detector infrastructure.
Job, you have got a question as well, I see in the chat.
Yes, it was as a follow-up of the discussion with Jo. I hear also Michele is saying you need, there is not a project organization yet because you have a lacking of the resources and the organization. So my question is, are you preparing a concrete plan for collecting money or support for such a project organization? It can be on the list if you are in further contact with agencies and ministries.
Yeah, we are preparing the body that is will do that. That is the FB in this slide, the Internal Finance Board. And this board has exactly this purpose. We are a little bit late to doing that. Of course, in this moment, we have an approach with the agencies that is quite uncoordinated. We are discussing between us, but then at the national level, we are acting toward the agencies. But this scheme will finish to work because the agencies, I hope, will start to talk together and form their own council. And so this independent approach will end, I hope, quickly. And so, but yes, we are preparing this phase through this internal finance board that you see in the step, in the first slide. Let me add one particular point. I said that we will end up in an ERIC infrastructure. And I think, I mean, I'm not so expert, but I believe that is could be the final target. But we have already multinational structure in Europe that could provide the initial step. And so Virgo is managed by one of these, and the agencies should start to think how to use what we have currently. And try to speed up the convergence through existing bodies.
Michele?
Go ahead.
Can I say something?
Sure.
Yeah, the loader.
This discussion is very interesting, but I think that we should try to push for having at least an anticipation of the such a kind of organization, because if we want to go in the direction to have what I called yesterday a coherent R&D plan, probably we should try to have something in common also for what which concerns money to support this activity. So,
Yes.
a way to try to have an organization for managing a common fund or something similar. So I think that it should be better to have in parallel with the evolution of this R&D plan that I am supporting, also to have a discussion on how to drive it even from financial point of view.
No, I agree. I mean, maybe it's not needed to have a common pot, but a common book where are written the contribution of the different partners in terms of R&D is important. A common pot needs a common structure. And so I think that, I mean, it's not easy to set up a common structure. I understand that there is a difficulty, and we need to wait, not so much, but need that the common structure is realized. But we should not wait to build, as a scientist, the common R&D plan. So to define the enabling technologies, I repeat continuously this word because there are few points that needs to be defined to have a realistic project, and then these are even the priorities. So for as a scientist, we need to define this common plan, and then in terms of project, we need to define a common book. So people that are, it's clear who is funding what. Then the flux of money, I think at the beginning cannot be converging in a single pot because it's difficult, but should be transparent, the flux of money, who is doing what.
And on the R&D front, it is even a bit more complicated because there we are, of course, not solitary. We as ET in the world, there are other projects with overlapping requirements. So it is a global endeavor, this R&D, and we try to get an overview. We try to organize it in a global way, the needs for R&D. To optimize and avoid duplicating work and benefit from each other wherever there are similarities in the requirements. So it is required, it is definitely needed, but it is also tricky on that side.
Yeah, let me give you an example that is a scaled to the respect of the needs that we have to face, but in the past, even before the financial support that we get in the context of the framework program 7 from Europe, we had the Strega adventure supported by Europe. We had the IDIAS adventure, and this was also the occasion to try to coordinate the effort and to avoid to have too much overlap in the R&D effort. So I think that this model, supported by, in some sense, by a loosely common pot, will help a lot in progressing faster.
It is true that we made good progress through these projects and these initiatives, but on the other hand, the unreliability and unpredictability of these funding sources also caused us a lot of delay in the past, and we cannot rely at the moment on it.
I mean, there is an error of a mistake of order of magnitudes. So the Strega was 600 kilo euro. The IT design study was 3 million euro. We are talking here about 800 million euro, okay, of R&D that we need. I mean, we cannot build, we cannot talk about doing what we need with this kind of source. We are talking about a different scale.
But Michaela, it is also a matter of structure. It's not only money.
Exactly. I agree completely.
Right now, I think it would be good to, as ET, to get in a collaboration with CERN and with, if possible, Cosmic Explorer. So that you do a joint effort, for example, on the vacuum system.
Oh, for sure. I mean,
yeah, but right now I can see that we could do this from NICEF, or you could do it from INFN or whatever. But what is the organization so that it's clear that this is an ET activity that ET is jointly doing with CERN? So also, how do we structure that, and that we don't do it as separate R&D activities as we do it right now?
I agree completely. What I say, a common plan, a common book. And then we need to adapt the first period on the money handling methods, because we are missing a single central body. But the common plan, a common book are mandatory. And
no, I agree. But the question is how and who and okay.
Who? I mean, is the project, and the project is what we have in front of you. You have the executive board that is doing that, and I mean. This is what when you say common R&D, you should do out of the group of persons, the team of persons that are defining the vacuum in a team. No, it should be them, and then it should be inside the division that you see here, and the vacuum and the cryogenic division that is here. They are doing the technical part, and the management part is made by the executive board. This is what I mean. Is clear. Then the MOU are signed by the legal representatives that are maybe can be the executive board manager or at arriving to the council level. But this is the structure that I see. If we are building parallel objects because okay, we are taking care of vacuum, I'm taking care of the other things outside what you see in front of you. I mean, we are destroying the project, because what is the role of the vacuum division here if it is not involved in the activity on vacuum development with CERN and Cosmic Explorer?
No, I agree. I'm just looking for how it can be structured. So then, in that sense, it would be good if there would be some small budget inside this structure.
I agree completely.
If I can add another element which we should think about, and in my opinion, move faster. When a group is asking money to an agency, for example, to INFN, and the agency say yes, then there is a strong engagement of the group to fulfill what they promised in their proposal. They must do these things. And that point is if they promised something which is in loose agreement, weak agreement with what is the mainstream of the project, then we are failing our idea to have a coherent plan. This is the point. So, and this action is what is currently going on. And so, for example, in the case of Cosmic Explorer, they presented with the help of CERN already a plan, a request of money, of significant amount of money for studying the vacuum to EDSF. And this, I haven't seen this plan. I have no news. I hope to have news concerning this plan this afternoon when Albert will present what they plan to do. But this is makes already difficult, in a certain sense, to have a common effort with the guys of Cosmic Explorer. Our connection is in practice through Paolo Chigiano. This is the situation.
But I mean,
you have to be realistic.
Yeah, I agree. But we have in the as free proposal, we suggested, because the definition is more detailed, we suggested a request for R&D, and I don't like to call R&D, I would like to call development for different items, and also vacuum we wrote in the proposal. The difference that we haven't an international plan, an European plan for R&D is what we need now. I stated yesterday, you know better than me that I stated also at the national level that we need a national R&D plan to be inserted in the European R&D plan. So we need it as soon as possible. And when you say the group asked to the agency, no, a group asked to the agency having in the hand the common R&D plan. So saying, okay, this activity, this development activity is inside the framework. It should not be very, very stringent, totally stringent, because clever ideas could arrive, but clever ideas are welcome on something that is expected to be installed and built in at the very end, so part of the detectors. But for some very large infrastructure like the vacuum, the cryogenics, I think we need to have very well engineered ideas rather than very clever ideas. So sorry, this joke, but I think we need really to focus in the almost production part. And this is what can be done for vacuum with this common CERN AT agreement, and then with Cosmic Explorer.
Okay. Any other remarks?
That the technology used, the final technology chosen, has to be mastered by the project and not by only collaborations, because whatever happens to a collaboration, if the collaboration institute will be busy to do something else, then the project will lack a fundamental component. So whatever decisions for technologies will be adopted, then one has to master them in the project.
Yes, I mean, this is one point that is fundamental for the large infrastructure components, vacuum, cryogenics, lasers until a certain point, but then there are something that I mean, some point that cannot be under the project. We have it as experience in Virgo and the others. I mean, the collaboration will play always an important role.
And yet it all needs to be organized through a strong project office, of course.
Yes, of course, totally. Because I suggest to people that are coming from high-energy physics to forget high-energy physics, because we haven't an infrastructure that is distinguished by the detector. As my example that use, if you remove a muon detector, the calorimeter works. In our case, not. So try to forget a bit the high-energy physics and enter. We have already now 20 years of experience. So you should believe to people that are working in this field since 20 years, that maybe are coming from high-energy physics, like I am coming. And so understand that the difference is important.
Okay, I don't see any other remarks. That was an interesting session, an interesting discussion. Many thanks to all of you for contributing. So I suggest we close this session and reconvene a quarter after the hour to the for the instrument science session to come up. Many thanks, and see you then.